what is going on, family? How's everybody doing? I will make the book club announcement. Try to make that next show. Those of you who were here last show have some idea of what it's going to be. You have some idea of what I'm going to choose based on what I said last show. It's something that we've already kind of talked about. But for right now, we have to get involved in a lot of stuff. Mueller came out, and everything that happened, and everything that didn't happen. We have to talk about the abdications, the abdications of responsibility. We have to talk about what did happen. We have to talk about what didn't happen. But let me just say this. Before we get started, as we always do, please get your libations. Please enjoy yourself. Please get yourself a libations. Get whatever you need for the moment. Make sure you get that together. Also, hit that bell. If you have never hit that bell on the show, hit that bell for me so that you get notifications when I'm going live. Please hit that bell for me. I would appreciate it. Also, you can hit the like button. Now is the time to hit the like button. Now is the time to hit the like button. If you want to donate to the show, you can go to donatebrown.com. You can go to patreon.com/ycarnell. You can subscribe to the newsletter for $2 a month. However you want to do it, you can go to subscribetobrown.com. That is free to you. It just adds your name to my mailing list in case something goes down here or something happens. I have a way to reach you, family. We have a way to communicate. So if you have not done that, please do that. Please do that, and I would appreciate it. I am just, sometimes in life you have a lens. And lenses are very, very good. Lenses are very, very good for understanding certain things. So before anybody, because we know how this accusation goes, right? We have been met with a lot of accusations ourselves as ADOS and all of this stuff. So I want to, when I talk about Mueller and when I talk about the Mueller findings and when I talk about what they mean, what they imply, what they suggest for the ADOS community, when I talk about that, I want to first talk about, without a doubt, what the conclusion was. And I'm gonna put up a tweet from the guy at NBC who has been talking about this, and I'm sure it pained him to put this tweet out, just so we understand that what I'm saying is not some kind of right-wing jargon. It's not some kind of, I'm not making it up. I'm not taking it from Fox. This is just what we call the truth. This is Ken Delanian from NBC. Folks, this is a total legal exoneration of the president. Congress will want to know more, of course. But the top line, no conspiracy, no obstruction. Now, I want you to understand one thing as we have this conversation. And this is Matt Taibbi's piece, which says the same thing. And Taibbi is no fan of Trump. He has excoriated Trump, but he's saying the same thing, that there is no, and this is what Mueller, the letter that we got. The letter that we got, that he put out, the Mueller, the Camp and Barr, they put this 4-page letter that basically, I think it was 4 pages, that said there was no collusion. Now, what you see right now, I saw Ari, what's the little child name? Ari Melber almost lose his mind on MSNBC earlier today. He almost lost it because he can't wrap his head around the fact that he's just been spinning his wheels. But what they have said, understand that people close to the Trump loop have been arrested for what they call process crimes. You've been running around lying. Well, you just tell him you don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. And doing all this stuff. But that's not what Democrats said we were going to find in terms of the operatives, in terms of the people on MSNBC and incessantly CNN. They said we were going to find collusion. Collusion is a very, very, very strong word. That Trump was colluding with the foreign government. So much so that we spent the last more than 2 years talking about this. Now, I want you to understand something. I want to back up and make sure everybody understands something very important. I'm not talking about whether or not the media, I'm not talking to you about whether or not the media should cover people in the Trump administration getting locked up, getting charged with crimes. That is deserving of coverage, and I approve. What we have had, though, over the past 2+ years is basically a panic. It's basically an obsession. We have had an obsession with Russiagate and who did what where. And oh my God, what does the Kremlin, Lord, the Kremlin, what does the Kremlin have on Trump? They got to have something. We're not going, well, can we talk about ADOS issues? Can we talk about real stuff that impacts ADOS people? Because we're not saying, we're not fans of Trump. We have tried to have a conversation. We have tried to have a conversation about Trump's budget. And Antonio and I did a whole analysis about how people were going to get less refunds and how these refunds and not getting as much in terms of refunds was going to hurt the ADOS community, and how that was going to gut our community because we depend so much on these programs that were going to be gutted. We tried to have that conversation, and y'all told us, no, shut up, Russia. You got to shut up about that because we got to talk about Russia. We got to talk about Russia. And that's what y'all talked about incessantly. Now, when I look at this picture, let me tell you one thing. I don't know what happened. I cannot presume guilt or innocence. I have no idea. But Avenatti, he got locked up. I mean, he got picked up. He said today that he was gonna come out with something about Nike. And Nike and somehow that didn't happen. He didn't come out with something about Nike. Them Alphabet boys showed up and picked him up. Now understand, we have had for a very long time the black people, the ADOS people who, well, Joy Reid's not ADOS in terms of lineage that goes back to slavery. Her parents are black immigrants. But we have had people who are on TV to speak to and for us in terms of be black reporters or black media personalities, or Al Sharpton's supposed to come from a history of activism. And somehow, nobody's saying that you didn't throw in some Stephon Clark and all that other stuff in there. But like incessantly, you have been interviewing people about Russia. You have been interviewing the attorney for a pornographic star, and doing things that do not benefit ADOS community at large. And so this is a problem, but it's a problem in ways that I don't think a lot of people can even quite imagine. Because not only did you incessantly talk and banter and rant about this stuff, you brought us into it. So not only, listen, Trump is in bed with Russia. Russia is using ADOS, understand, to come in the back door. They're using ADOS. These people are online, they Russians, and they pretending to be Negroes, and they're coming through the back door through Russia. And that's what Angela Ross said. I think they're Russians. I think they're paid by them. That's what Joy Reid brought Digital Sister on her show to say, well, there's a hashtag afoot. You're right, because a lot of people got involved in Twitter that had not been involved in Twitter until that time, because we said, and I said on this show, you should get involved and you should add yourself and have a Twitter account, if for no other reason to hold your local officials accountable and your national officials too. That's what I said. But you didn't investigate that, did you? You just want to get on TV. Everybody want to be in Joy Reid's green room. That's going to come with the cost pretty soon in terms of how we're going to react to you from just wanting to be in a space where you get attention. We're not talking about that. We're talking about what you did to us. And we're talking about what Sandy Darity talked about in the sense of, I don't know whether anybody else has, but I haven't seen it. But I have not gotten an apology from these people. You accuse me. I don't even think I know a Russian. I think I met a Slovenian one time at a train stop. But I don't even think I know a Russian never. And you basically, with no evidence whatsoever, accused us. Accused us of being Russian bots. You went into that space and went against your own people. That's exactly what you did. And you were part of this obsession. Now, let me tell you something else that's also very interesting about this obsession. A lot of the same people, And you can see it if you look at a lot of the stuff that's out. You know, I don't. If you look at, you can see that like this was a frenzied thing for this guy. This guy who was understand you were the attorney for this porn star, and you became elevated in the Democratic electorate as like even a potential person who was going to run in 2020. This is before you got picked up by the alphabet boys. You were elevated, and we have to look at who elevated you. We have to look at who elevated you. Who helped make you a household name? Who did this kind of irresponsible journalism? Who did that? I mean, it's very clear. It's very clear. It's very clear exactly who did that. It's very clear exactly who made this man the man everybody wanted to talk to. We got to talk to Avenatti. Now he locked up, and I don't know what is real, false, or indifferent, but he's locked up for some wire fraud and extortion and all kinds of stuff. What you gonna do now? I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out with y'all. I'm just trying to look at the people. I'm just trying to look at all the reporters who are supposed to be, understand that you are supposed to, when you get into this space, you are not brought up, child. You didn't go to school. You over there, Professor Morgan State. I don't know what's going on with Morgan State, but everybody over there is going, all the people are Pan-Africanists and opposed to Yvette and doing wild stuff. You need to do some kind of examination of yourself within the institution, because I don't know what y'all are doing, and you get on the wrong side of everything. Everybody over need to get themselves together, or who been there need to get themselves together and do a little reflection, because this is not the problem that you want. Because ADOS is coming. ADOS is not me. It's not Tone Talk. It's a whole group of people. So get yourself in line with your community. Stop discussing stuff that you don't know and don't fully understand. To try to do whatever you're trying to do. All this stuff, you go on discussing Manafort and all this randomness. What be wrong with y'all? Do y'all have problems? It is insane. I mean, honestly, when you think about what happened and how they covered this is borderline. This is borderline. Like, how do you don't get to represent us? That's what we're talking about. You don't get to represent us. You don't get to be in this space to speak for us, because you are not a good surrogate. You are not a good reporter. You are not a good person to be on the news for us to be thinking about or talking to. We have you on the news for what? You might as well just put a white person on there. I mean, what are you here for? What are you here for? Why are you in this space? Why are you in this space if you are not advocating for us? I don't understand how I'm not clear. If you are not advocating for us, because that's why they bring you there. Joy Reid, you was the last Negro standing over there at MSNBC after they did their Negro purge. They need a Negro. But if you're not going to be the Negro that's going to speak up for us, then I don't know. Forget what MSNBC needs. I don't know why I need you there. I don't know why I need you in that space. I don't know. Child, please tell me why Malcolm Nance is in that space. Because I remember, do you all remember when Nance called us bots? Nance was like, these are just bots, these ADOS people. And then when I challenged him, he just blocked me. Well, you see, you have to block them. Understand that is suppression. That is suppression. People talk a lot about suppressing the black vote. That is suppression of a black activist organic group. And then there's a lot about Nance. I would appreciate if somebody, I didn't really have time before the show because I was researching this other stuff. Just go find his bio and stuff. There's a lot of murky stuff in there. I don't know where you been, Mr. Nance, and I have called you a spook, but I don't even know if you really fit the description. I don't think you're qualified. It's a lot of holes in your stuff. Is anybody really dug through your stuff? Dug through your little Wikipedia? It don't make no sense. It sounds to me like you just went to the Air Force or something, and you just got picked up, and people decided to put you on TV. I didn't see anything that says to me you have any particular expertise to be talking about these sorts of things on the TV. It says to me you don't know anything about the stuff. You don't have any particular intel. I haven't seen anything in your bio that says you were at the Department of Intelligence somewhere you should, or the CIA or whatever, where you have some type of, and even with those people, those were the same people who walked us into the Iraq war. You had Joy Reid talking about, where is the thing at? She was talking about she was watching a movie with the doggone, she was watching, look who she's watching the movie, watching real timers or whatever these people be doing with their spare time. Bill Maher, something, I don't know, like with Dave, watching real timers with Donna Brazile, David Frum, and scare, but she's watching that. But understand that when you talk about the people who got normalized in this thing, David Frum was on MSNBC and all these different places. He's the one and talking about how bad Trump was. But did everybody forget that Frum walked us into the Iraq war? How all of a sudden did the people who walked us into a war that cost lives and money and all of that, when you talk about imperialism, how did all of a sudden Joy Reid and all these different people, these people ended up back at MSNBC speaking from a place of authority? Now, Malcolm Nance ain't one of those people. He's just a knucklehead. He can't think his way out of a paper bag. We ain't talking about him. He has positioned himself as a spook, but when I really went and looked at his bio, I don't see any of that in there. But they have done this incessantly. Understand that this is not just, understand what we're talking about. And when I talk about it, what I'm talking about, fam, listen. There's only so much airtime. We live in a finite world. We only have so many years to live. There are only so many resources. There's only so much airtime. There's only so much activism. There's only so much energy. There's only so much food that you can grow, so many seeds, so much land. That's just the nature of the world we live in. So when you look at an article like this, what you're seeing, when you see that article, what you're seeing is that the time that could have been spent arguing on behalf of ADOS and making that case was spent on something very different. It was spent on Trump and Russia. Trump and Russia. Russia and Trump. Trumpgate, Russiagate, Trumpgate, Russiagate, Trumpgate, Russiagate, and spin and stop. Listen, the nonpartisan Tyndale report pegged the total amount of time devoted to the story, talking about Russiagate, on the evening newscast of ABC, CBS, and NBC last year at 332 minutes, making it the second most covered story after the Senate confirmation hearings of Supreme Court Justice Brett M. Kavanaugh. According to account by the Republican National Committee released Sunday, the Post, New York Times, CNN, and MSNBC have written a combined 8,507 articles monitoring the special investigation. It made a lot of money for the networks. And these people weren't just reporting, they were telling us that if we just waited for a little while, if we just sat around for a little while, we were going to realize that Russia was running the president, and the president was going to soon be out of office. So we weren't going to have to worry. Just pay attention. He's going to get impeached. They're going to kick him out. Something's going to happen because he's in bed with the Russians. And they drug us along to the exclusion of everything else. They presumed and predicted. Took all the air out the room. And let me just say something. Because you know how it is. The knuckleheads will come out and say, well, Yvette, it sounds like you like Russia. I'm telling you something. Pay attention to this. It's not about whether or not you criticize Trump. I have tried, like I said, to criticize Trump. It's how you do it. You do it on the issues. There is a lot. The funniest thing about this whole thing, Trump is probably wrong about 90% of everything. But the one thing that he actually kind of got right, y'all were opposed to him on. Trump can't debate housing policy. Trump can't talk about affirmative action. Trump can't do good and have a good conversation about reparations. Probably. But the thing is, you didn't let us do that. We weren't allowed to engage in a level where we could defeat Trump. You didn't allow us to be in that space. Instead of allowing us to be in that space, you took over that space with Russiagate. So let me tell you what you did, Joy Reid. Let me tell you what you did. What's the little fellow's name? Let me tell you what you did, Jason Johnson. You might have just gotten Trump reelected with this fiasco. Not me, you. Because you can defeat Trump on the issues, but you cannot defeat him by some conspiracy theorist nonsense that you won't let go. And y'all just want to show up on the Rachel Maddow show. And I want to show up. You cannot defeat nobody that way. You got to do it on the issues. I'm not telling you not to criticize Trump. I'm telling you how to do it. You all don't know how to do it. So what are you there for? What are you there for? Oh, I know what you're here for. I'm sorry. I forgot. I know what you're here for. You're here just to criticize black people. You're here to criticize ADOS people. You're real good. That's what you're there for. Why? It's time for you to go home. It's time for you to put in your resignation and say, I have failed. I have failed as a thinker. I have failed as a reporter. I have failed as a person who was put in here fraudulently to represent ADOS. I am a fraud. And I need to go home. Y'all running around out there trying to cover yourselves. Wait a minute. You can take the time out. You can take the time out, Joy Reid, to tweet me some nonsense about how I'm a bot and all this stuff you tweeted me about, oh my God. She's all this immigration talk. She must be in bed with the Trumpists. I want more answers. You can do that, right? But you can't do any advocacy. So the people who are here advocating to challenge Trump, Republicans, Democrats, everybody on the black agenda, you can challenge us. But you can't advocate for us. See, you're not the person I need in the room. Understand that advocacy means, even in terms of reporting, even if you're a straight reporter, what you do is you find the facts, ma'am, only the facts. And you go there and you challenge them on the facts. And you go there and challenge them on what this budget, you zeroed out this whole part of the budget. Do you know what zeroing out this part of the budget is going to do to black life? Do you know how much of the refunds that are supposed to go to ADOS people are not going to go to ADOS people because of what you're doing? That's your job, Joy, and you failed at it. You are a failure, and I have no problem calling you that. And somebody should have called you that a long time ago. Now you running around. I was on Twitter this morning. You running around trying to make this stuff stick. It don't stick. You wasted your time. You wasted our time. The only people who really show up to see you are ADOS people. I don't know why. Nobody should be watching Joy Reid on any morning, any time, anywhere, any day. No, not no ADOS person. I don't even know why a non-ADOS person would. For what? She's not good at her job. Like, how is that? I don't understand. Like, how do you get to still be moving around and having this kind of conversation? Your boy Jason Johnson ain't go to his job too. This is an end to a democracy moment. No, you know what's the end to democracy? You know what's the end to democracy if you really want to be honest? An end to democracy is what we have now, like this plutocracy that we have, where white America has nearly all the wealth, and they've been able to keep that wealth and amass that wealth because of slavery. These companies shouldn't exist. The money that they have shouldn't exist, and they should give it back. That's the end to democracy. This whole stuff you were talking about was garbage. You're not a good thinker. Either you're not a good thinker, or let me tell you what, either you're not a good thinker, or you're led by the DNC. Or you're being given talking points. Or you're just going to come on and talk about what they want to talk about because you want to be on TV. Either way, that's a problem. Let me tell you. When I talk about Joy Reid, and people think I'm being some kind of, oh, Yvette, you're being xenophobic because you're talking about she's not ADOS. Now you see why I need an ADOS person in that slot. Why is Joy Reid there? She's not doing the advocacy. She's not even an ally. She's not doing the work. She is a careerist, and it's just about her and her individual ambition. Joy Reid is in that role. She's in that role to be a black person at MSNBC, so they didn't fire all the people. But the only thing she does is behave as like what Tone calls a chocolate-covered white person. I don't need chocolate-covered white people to represent me at any time, anywhere. I need real advocacy. I need real ADOS people. And I don't even know what Johnson is, whether he's a Republican, a Democrat. He flips. You know, he'll talk to me. He has a picture online with the what's the black guy's name, former head of the RNC. That's fine. I don't even have issue with it. But how did you accuse me? Well, you just being a Republican. But you got a picture with people. Everybody knows how you move. You don't have any kind of allegiances. Nothing. That's a real big problem. That's a real big problem in terms of the kind of policy. See, this is who you follow. This is who you listen to. You're not listening to ADOS people and trying to figure out what we need and how we have to move. You know, whatever Pelosi says, that's where you go. That's the direction that you go in. I don't need nobody. I got enough with Clyburn and the CBC taking orders from Pelosi. I don't need my media taking orders from Pelosi's either. I don't need all that. That's stressful. That's very stressful. And let me just say, this is what I would like to have talked about. And I don't agree with the headline. But Talk Poverty, you know, had some good stuff about, like, this is when the Trump budget first came out, about what the issues were. And it talks about cuts to approximately $150 million to the Women, Infants, Children WIC program, where blacks represent 20% of enrollment, guarantees fewer black families receive nutrition, education, and supplements necessary for small children, the elimination of 1.2 billion after school and summer school programs, which serve 1 in 4 black students, will leave millions of kids without opportunities that give them a chance to get ahead. At the college level, nearly 2/3 of black undergrads at public for 4-year institutions depend on assistance received through Pell Grants, reducing the funding for this program by $3.9 billion. I wanted to have that conversation, and I tried. And we had that. You all can go back on my this was like 2017. You can go back on my YouTube. I did a very thorough examination of what Trump's policies meant for ADOS America. I went through. I have never seen a budget like that in my life. I have never seen a budget where they just zero out programs. Not just a reduction. We're killing it. We just gonna kill it. It's not gonna be around no more. Sorry. We're finished. We're done. I never seen that. And what I tried to do during that conversation is share with people how problematic and how much we depend on government because we come from slaves and that accrued disadvantage. So what I tried to share with people was how this was going to handicap us. Like we've had land stolen, we've had our lives stolen basically, and our opportunity stolen. And now you were going to take care of, like, we depend on government more than most groups. And what I was showing is that how that was going to impact us. But the reason it couldn't really break through in a major way is because everybody was obsessed with Russia. Even black people in the media. And don't tell me that you have a show if you ain't really got a show. Like, if you ain't really got a show, don't tell me that you got a show. If the show is really just you, right? If the show is really just you talking smack, or you doing something weird or whatever, or you just doing what Nancy Pelosi tells you to do, I don't want to hear about it. I don't care. And understand, you know, you have to understand what Greenwald said. He said that MSNBC didn't allow anybody with an opposing viewpoint in terms of Russiagate to get any airtime. No, you didn't get, so you don't get to be on TV. Like, if you have an opposing view, like, hey, like, even if I had an opposing view, like, hey, we should be talking about something else. No. Or if you say, no, this isn't necessarily collusion. So, but you don't get airtime. It's the same way Joy Reid can bully us and call us bots. She can, from her perch at MSNBC, punch down and call us bots, but never invite the founders to talk. Never invite Antonio Moore or Yvette Carnell to come on there and talk about who we really are, what we really stand. You never did that. I never asked you, but you're supposed to do that out of integrity. You have none. It is insane. It is immoral. It is disgusting for you to have a show and you bring a woman on, Digital Sister, and she says that we are bots who are trying to undermine Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, and you never have us on to refute that. And not that, when you do have somebody else on, it's your boy, Minister, you have him on to talk about what the real plan is for reparations. You never gave us airtime. So I believe Greenwald when he says that, like, you never gave anybody with an opposing view airtime. So everybody was running around thinking that Trump is about to get impeached. When really y'all have set the runway up. Y'all have set the road up for this man to slide into re-election. And you did that, not me. If we had been able to debate Trump on the issues and deal with the issues, it could have been a different outcome. But you have set it up to where he can truthfully say the media is out to get me. Fake news. Because you all have been fake news for 2+ years. If you have been unbiased and go at him where he can be, you go at him on the stuff that you know. The bills and the cuts, you know that. And you know the impact. You got him. You didn't do it. You did what Nancy Pelosi told you to do. Hello, yard boy. Girl, that's what you did. And I'm not saying that the media in general gets a pass. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying that at all. But it's worse when it's you, because we only have so many black people in media. And this is what you did with your, this is what you did, Joy, with your platform. This is why you have to go. We've decided to enter this fight in a very public way. If there are any other families in similar circumstances, we want to know. Michael Avenatti. Did he get out on bail? A.M. Joy, immigrant children. Is he all right? Anybody check on him? I'm not checking. You know I'm not checking. I don't care. I'm just asking. I don't know if the man got out on bail. I didn't check that before I came here. See, some people are just looking to, be able to advantage certain things. Michael Avenatti tweeted, looking forward to joining A.M. Joy Reid, this morning. But Rachel Maddow's been on the child. Rachel Maddow's show became unwatchable. She just it was Russia all the time. And Russia's the most. Rachel Maddow's the most popular host of the show, right, in terms of her ratings. So what happens is you got to make Rachel happy. You ain't trying to make us happy. You ain't trying to do what's best for ADOS. You trying to make Rachel happy. Child, you trying to make Rachel happy. Rachel, what'd you think of the show? If you all could probably, I bet you if we could hear the discussions, what'd you think of the show? Did you like it? I think I really went in on Russia. I think I did. I think I really drove it home. I think I really, really did on this last show. I might not have done it like, I needed to do on the last show, but I think I really, 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 really drove it home. And what I'm telling you is that this is not, that this is not any kind of real representation for us as a community. This is not any kind of, and I'm just talking about basic reporting. Like, I don't know what Al was doing either. I don't know what anybody was doing except just doing what Nancy Pelosi and the media network wanted them to do. Reverend Al Sharpton Jeffries joins me live, Politics Nation, with Al Sharpton, talking Trump and the case against impeachment. Impeachment over what? Now we got the stuff. There's nothing there. Now, I'm not saying that people didn't get arrested. I'm not saying that Trump didn't hang around with thieves, rogues, and everybody else. But that wasn't the case. Y'all didn't say that. Y'all said he was in bed with Russia. That's what you said. So what is the consequence? What is the consequence when it comes out that, like, you were wrong for over 2 years? You wouldn't let anybody else. Media is supposed to be giving different people, a point of view. Like, and like following the evidence. Yeah, you cover it. But this was like a panic. You call your fans Joy Reid readers, and nobody follows you. There are no readers. There are no reindeers. There are no readers. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't think we understand the consequence of this. And there was another show with Al Sharp. I mean, there was another one where he was talking about something else. See, he says, look at this one right here. I just want you to pay attention to how everybody's trying to shift now. Discussing how the Mueller situation is clearly a victory for the president. Well, yeah, Al. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. It's the first time you've been right in a long time. With that said, let's focus on serious issues on the table like criminal justice, healthcare, voting rights, tax cuts, and more. You should have been there a long time ago, though. Like, no, you don't get to just pivot now after being a part of this whole process that could give Trump another 4 years. Understand that if Trump gets reelected, there are more people to blame than the Republicans who vote for Trump. These people have been conspiracy theorists for a very long time, and they stand to blame. They were not reporters. They had an agenda. You are not a straight reporter if you are operating with an agenda. And even as a commentator, you should find something else to talk about sometime. Let me tell you something. One of the things that people don't kind of understand is how much these people have been wrong. Like, we don't understand how much the media class has been wrong. First, they were wrong. They all went on board with George W. Bush and WMDs, and they was wrong about that. They was dead wrong about that. And then they doubled down on this stuff by bringing the same people back on. But forget about that for a second. What we tend not to remember is that they were wrong about Trump. Everybody in the media told us, in no uncertain terms, Trump's not going to get elected. There's no way Trump gets elected. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Trump is not going to get elected. And guess what? He got elected. But even before that, you all in the media gave Trump a whole bunch of free press. Y'all went around following him, listened to everything he had to say. You followed him and you went out to the Trump plane. When the Trump plane was out there out front, you went out to the Trump plane, you greeted the Trump plane. Trump's having a talk. Trump's having a conversation. Trump says, Obama's a birther. We have to cover this live. I mean, he's a birther. He said Obama wasn't born here. We have to cover this live. Trump said, where's the birth certificate? We have to cover this live. You gave him all the media and the free media to get elected because you want to make money, because it was good for your bottom line as media organizations. And you all who are ADOS and black in the media just followed and did what you were told because you don't want to lose your little job. So we had this whole situation where y'all set this man up to become president. There's no way Trump should have got as much free media from y'all that he got. There's no way in the world. You all set him up to become president, and then instead of taking him seriously and challenging what he was saying in the media and challenging the stuff you did challenge way too late, you were just like, oh, he's a joke. He's not going to become president. What are you talking about? Anybody who says Trump's going to become president is out of their minds. Election night, what happened? You all have failed and failed and failed and failed again. And what I'm seeing, what I'm witnessing, is this is a failure of us not having media. And this speaks to the importance of independent journalism, especially independent black journalism, especially independent ADOS journalism. There are no journalists. You have no journalists. There is nobody that you see. Name me somebody in mainstream media who is ADOS or black who is advocating on behalf of us and pushing for us to have our questions answered. And pushing for us to have a black agenda. And pushing and saying, listen, we've had land theft in this country. We've had slavery. We've had Jim Crow. We've had redlining. So when we talk about land theft, you're talking about we had no rights, so people could just come steal our land and steal whatever companies we had. There's a whole thing that we talk about all the time on this show about when blacks first started businesses, white people didn't want to compete with them. And so a great way to take somebody off the board that you don't want to compete with is just to kill them if ain't nobody going to arrest you. So what happens is a lot of business owners got strung up. And it's time for that reckoning for the wealth that was taken off the table. That was our wealth. That was supposed to be our inheritance. We were supposed to get that from our parents, but you slaughtered them. And it's our time. And what you are telling me is that I can't have that conversation. I can't do that advocacy because I have people in that space who are doing what Nancy Pelosi and the head of MSNBC want them to do. You are not my people, and you should not be on TV advocating for me. I need to have a conversation with my government. Now, if you're not going to let me have that conversation, you're not going to aid in that conversation, if you are not going to further that conversation, if you are not going to put the data on the table that shows all these budget cuts, these Republican budget cuts are going to gut our community, and then we cannot have an open border situation where we are competing with immigrants who come here illegally. We have a problem in both these parties. And I'm telling you that if you are not going to speak truth to power and at least have that conversation and put the data on the table, you don't have to say it with your own mouth. You can bring an ADOS person on there. You can bring me. You can bring Tone. And I'm not talking about Joy Reid now. Child, she on the weekend. I ain't trying to come on nowhere on no weekend. But I'm talking about you are not doing what's necessary. Nobody at these networks. And let me tell you something. There's a lot of very interesting things that happened in terms of all the conversations that we are having. In terms of Joy Reid and everything else. You know, there's no other way to kind of say it, but there were a lot of people who kind of got on board with this stuff that we're talking about. And it wasn't just Joy Reid. That's she's one of them. But there were I can't think. I'm trying to think right now, and help me, other than, I think, Tulsi Gabbard, and like, of course, Marianne Williamson, who was, I'm going to talk about mainstream. I cannot think of another, and I'm trying real hard, but I cannot think of a candidate who did not get on board of this Russia train. I mean, can anybody else think of anybody else who did not get on board with this? Let's talk about Russia all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because while I have this up, I'm trying to look through something just to check something, because I can't think of anybody. If you can, please let me know. I can't think of anybody who did not do this all the time, every day, all day. I can't think of it. I can't think. Everybody was very much invested in Russiagate. Well, we gonna have to, and so what that means is that everybody was very much invested. Everybody was very much invested in getting Trump out of office, as opposed to like doing what was necessary for the citizens of this country. I don't know how we look at that and don't see that that's a problem. I don't know how. I don't know how we look at that and don't understand how problematic that is for our government. I just really don't get it. It is the most serious of issues. Even your boy Bernie Sanders was involved, right? Didn't Bernie Sanders offer a bill up? Didn't he offer a bill where you could God, I can't find it in my inbox, but I know I have it. But he put forth a bill like, we're gonna stop presidential candidates from messing around with Russia. What you talking about? Now wait a minute, hold on. This is the same Bernie Sanders who, when you ask him about reparations, well, what does that mean? I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't know what a Russia. Can you explain it to me? Did nobody have to explain to you this Russia stuff? You put together a bill. Nobody had to explain that to you, but all of a sudden you confused when it comes to like stuff that impacts my community. We've been here, Bernie. We've been here for 400 years, and you know everything that happened to us. But when I talk to you about what happened to us, well, what do you mean? What does reparations look like? But it didn't take you no time to write a bill that dealt with presidents with foreign collusion or whatever. You playing games. Everybody is this racism is epidemic. You are playing games. If you can come up with a bill over something, Trump's been in there what, 2 years or something? Like 2-3 years, we had like 2019 right now. We coming up on 2020. Election comes soon. But understand, this man, Bernie Sanders, put together a bill about Russia and collusion or whatever, based on an allegation about Trump. But we've been here for 400 years, and all the data about our oppression over them years is public. But he can't do nothing about that. He don't know. Well, what you mean? You mean a cash payment, or what? I don't understand. You want to play stupid with me? You're going to play stupid with me and my people. But you wrote a bill. You know how to write a bill. You know how to do research, Bernie. Don't play dumb. You can play dumb on the Breakfast Club. Because they're going to play dumb or be dumb right there with you. But don't play dumb with me about what does that look like. If you want to be an ally, if you want my vote, you tell me what it looks like. You know how bills are written. You ain't got to go in there your own little self and do calligraphy, Bernie. You know what that looks like. You have an idea. We all have an idea. Sandy Darity's done work. Whole lot of people have done work. Dr. Sandy Darity, whole lot of people have done work on this issue. We not no strange fish nobody saw. What did you say? The fish showed up in the pond in New Zealand? The fish was in Antarctica. We're not some kind of we're not a spotted owl. You know exactly what this means and exactly what it is and exactly what it takes. Stop playing stupid. And I'm tired of all these politicians playing stupid with us when we ask a question. Well, I don't know what you mean. But you can write a bill in 5 minutes about collusion with Russia. It's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous that we put up with it. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's insane to put up with the stuff that we put up with as a community. You know, surprisingly to me, Trevor Noah of The Daily Show had a really good take. And he said something very interesting that is what, if you want to, and I'll put it up on my Instagram and Twitter later, but if you want to know how an ally should feel and what an ally should say, that is it. And I can't play it on this show because copyright and whatever, but he said, listen, he said, not only did black people not have land, ADOS, like I've just talked about, and not only was land stolen, like I've just talked about, when we tried to get land again and get property again, we got subprime mortgages. And Trevor Noah is giving this conversation. This is him having this conversation. This is him talking about ADOS. And he says not only was that land stolen, but when ADOS, tried to get black Americans, he said, tried to get land, we had to deal with subprime mortgages, even if we had the same credit as white people. And at the end of that, he says something that is so important. He says that is something that black Americans have to deal with their government, basically. And he says I'm not a part of that conversation. That's not me. So he's saying, I acknowledge this wrong. As a black immigrant to this country, I see what they've done to ADOS. I see it. And I know that ADOS have to reckon with that. But I can help, but this is not me. This is not something that I get to do, or this is not my due, because I understand that I'm an immigrant in this country. And understand, black immigrants, that is what we need from you. That is, Trevor Noah put it out specifically and unequivocally. This is how you remain an ally in this country. You acknowledge what happened to us. You don't come here and say, well, y'all could do better. Well, y'all should just be doing this. And y'all too lazy. And y'all just want to play basketball. And y'all don't study hard enough. And y'all don't know. You acknowledge what happened. If you don't know what happened, pick up a book. There are a lot of books. We've recommended some of them here that you should pick up. If you haven't read any of them, then shut up. You don't know enough to have the conversation. What you do is you acknowledge what happened to us. You get yourself on our team. You might not play first string, but you play. Second string is fine. You get on our team and you say, this happened. This happened to ADOS people. I am not am not ADOS. I'm a black immigrant, but I acknowledge that it happened, and they have to reckon this with their government, and I support them. That's it. It's not hard to be that. It's not hard to be that. I mean, Joy Reid thinks because she's born, she's ADOS. No, we're talking about lineage. ADOS is lineage. Nobody's saying that you're not American or you're not black American today. But ADOS is about a lineage that goes back to slavery and the accrued disadvantage that comes from that. And you express, Joy Reid, what you don't know and what you don't understand and what you don't value every day in your show. I don't know if you know it, but I see it and we all see it. And I think everybody has to come to terms. Before I go to break, I think everybody's going to have to come to terms with something very important. Everybody's going to have to come to terms with the fact that this reckoning that I talk about on this show all the time, the reckoning is real. And it's going to happen in terms of the reckoning that we as ADOS are going to have with our own government. The question everybody has to start asking themselves is, what side of the fence are you going to be on? And, you know, I don't think you should be on the wrong side of this fence, because as a group, we are coming to get our due from the government, the country that we built, that would not exist without the free labor of slaves. And then after we did that, you oppressed us for 400 plus years. There has to be a reckoning, and that's what we're here for. And everybody needs to understand that. I think there's a moment in a lot of times, right? And now is your moment to get on board. Now is your moment to get on board. This is it. There won't be additional moments of coming back later and I forgive you, you know. And there are some people even now who cannot get on board. They're gonna, as I have said this before on this show, but exclusion is just as important as inclusion. If you want to be a tribe, and that's what we are, we're a specific group with a specific justice claim, we have to have standards. And some people have already not met those standards. But if you're in a position to do that, then do that. But Joy Reid already needs to go. You know, you shouldn't have done what you did. You shouldn't have maligned us. You shouldn't have lied on us about bots. You should not have gone to Twitter and your Twitter following to antagonize us and make people think we are something that we're not. Your time is finished, and everybody else should take note. You'll be done soon enough. Ain't nobody watching that little weekend nonsense with you. Going to break. We'll be back with your calls, fam. forget, hit the like button if you have not. If you came in late or whatever, please hit that like button for me. Just hit it. Costs you no money to hit the like button. Like button free. You can also go to subscribetobrown.com for free and add your name to the mailing list just so I have it. You can do all of that good stuff. I am going to go to calls. I really want to hear what you all have to say about the Mueller report and everything that went down and how people are scrambling. I told you, I thought, what's the little child named Ari Melbourne? I thought he was gonna cry. I turned over there just to see what is they gonna do. I thought he was gonna break down in tears and say, I didn't know do the I thought he was gonna break down. Anyway, I'm going to 205. I'm coming to you, 205. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, I just wanted to make a statement real quick.
Okay.
It's not regarding the Mueller report. It's actually about the reconciliation thing they have, like with civil rights. You know, I think they explored the civil rights movement, and I was just wondering, did y'all have any ideas to give a strong pushback about how they're talking about reconciliation without reparation?
No, I didn't. No.
And the second, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What you were saying, Yvette?
No, I was just saying. I don't have anything. Let's get your second point off, fam, and then so we can go on. Fam, call me about the Mueller report.
My second point is, I'll make it real quick and I'm gonna hang up. I think it would be a good idea to take into consideration that we may add the reparations, that we take care of the slave cemeteries and we restore them and make them national monuments so they won't be bulldoze over and go away, and that's all I had to say.
I appreciate you. Thank you, fam, for calling in. Fam, I'm not trying to be mean, but let's try to have everything about the Mueller report or what's your take on that. But I do agree, like, these should be, tear down all the, if we had money, it would be a thing about, like I said that before, like, if we had money, it wouldn't even be a thing about, like, if we were like real people in this country, like, made normalized, it wouldn't be a thing, like, whatever. But, like, I'm certainly not opposed to historic, to making those grave sites historic monuments. I think that would be wonderful. But let's try to talk about the Mueller report, fam. I am coming to 601. 601, what's your name? Where you calling from? And what is on your mind? You there, 601?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey!
I'm sorry, I got some cracking in my phone. This is Sharon. I'm calling from Jackson, Mississippi.
Hey!
And I know you want us to be on point. So Yvette, I have to tell you, I ran into NAACP President Derek Johnson at the gym.
At the gym?
And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I thought you was in D.C. He's like, no, I'm staying here. I'm not in D.C. I'm like, okay. I said, well, I want to know what is your position on reparations?
Uh-huh.
And he was like, I said, because I'm going to post it online. And he was like, well, it's on our website. It's on our website. I said, no. I really want to know your positions on reparations because I'm going to post it online. And he's like, it's on the website. It's on the website. And then he sort of acted like dismissive of me and walked off. And, I was like, man, that's kind of rude, especially a black man to a black woman. So I did the Otis, and I went online, and I looked up the NAACP position on reparations. I had to go into the search box and type in reparations to find it, and the NAACP is supporting H.R. 40. So I took it a little further. I did the Otis Union, and I Googled, what is the NAACP president's salary? So he makes $217,564 a year, and he lives in Mississippi. So that's like
he a king. He a king in Mississippi with that kind of money.
I don't care about reparations personally.
You a king. You a king with that kind of money in Mississippi. You a king. That ain't New York, L.A. That. Go on, fam. I'm sorry. But let me say something.
I'm gonna hang up because I'm having some problems hearing.
Okay, I'll let you go, fam. I appreciate you calling in. What I'm saying in terms of what she's saying about that too. Let's understand one thing. What we have done is kind of, and what I realized, because initially when Bernie Sanders ran, I said, oh, well, it's the same thing, because the NAACP stuff, in terms of their reparations plan, if you saw it on their site, unless they've changed it, was almost the same as Bernie Sanders. What I realized later, though, is Bernie Sanders NAACP had it all wrong. They were asking, for the most part, from government for what government should be giving in general. So they were asking for like infrastructure. I asked for that too, but not as part of a reparations plan. That's something that you should do to like fix. Like if you want to fix everything that's wrong just because you have failed at government, that is your responsibility to us. Infrastructure, you should fix that first. When we get to reparations, you might want to take care of that first because you have put us in a place where we're not citizens. But that is not part of reparations. So you realize when you start getting into it that like everybody's just kind of failed to like think their way out of this in a certain way. But let me just go on to the next call. I'm sorry, fam. I'm going to 973. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Yvette? This call out of New Jersey.
What's going on?
You said something about, hey, what's up? You said something about sucking the air out of the room. And this basically reminds me of, when the Democrats had both House and Senate and the executive branch. And, I mean, they just did nothing with that political capital. And even I remember you were saying earlier of the Trump presidency when, the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters, they was refusing to talk to the president. Like, that's not how politics work. And who gave them the authority to just disregard the plight of the people who put them in office to just say, I'm not going to talk to the president? The Democrat, so these people just took kind of like a cliquish stance, kind of like, like gang members, like, the red and the blue. And that's not what we need, and it's going to be hard for your detractors and your naysayers and people who snipe at you guys. It's going to be hard to take this clip and say that ADOS, Antonio, and you guys are pro-Trump. I mean, you guys are basically just using straight logic. You know what I'm saying? So basically, we're trying to get to an end here, and the end is, a government that really represents ADOS. Yeah. And when I've seen that Senate, the Senate hearings, was it Cohen? When he was
he was there. You talking about that one?
Yeah, Cohen. Well, I mean, right. Once I seen that Senate hearing, I said they got nothing on Trump, and this ain't really saying that Trump is innocent or guilty, but I just knew it was going nowhere. And just like when they had the House and the Senate and the executive branch, they wasted time and took the air out the room. They did it again. And just like you said, even when people fail to realize if people are going to blame ADOS or I stands for reparations and accuse us, if Trump gets back in the office, there's a lot of people that can be held accountable. I mean, just like you said, I remember it was just around-the-clock footage of Donald Trump and his birthday movement. You guys put the camera in his face. You guys took it as a joke. You guys didn't take him serious. And now we got Trump. So don't throw this on ADOS. And me personally, my stance is if I have to sit home in 2020, I'm going to sit home if none of these candidates speak to my needs as a
and see, understand, but understand what we're doing in terms of being responsible, right? Like, we are trying to influence these candidates and understand that they have time. Like, see, what I want us to do is to keep pressing because they have time to really. I don't think these candidates really understand that we're serious this time. And I think what we have to do before we go to what you're talking about, we have to just keep pressing because we understand that we have never been serious. And I'm serious about everything. Like, understand that I got a lot of criticism. Oh my God, Yvette's on the board of Progressives for Immigration Reform. She hates the immigrants. I have gotten that kind of criticism, and I ask people, why do you think when we're talking about immigration and we're talking about something that displaces unskilled black workers significantly, especially black men, why shouldn't we have a voice in that room? And people are like, well, there's a lot of conservatives in that room. Yeah, because we're not in that room. Who cares? Like the job of us in terms of being in these rooms is to influence the room. Our job is not to show up in rooms where everybody reflects our ideology or everybody agrees with us. Our job is to show up in these rooms and influence these rooms in a way that benefits ADOS. I don't care who in the room. LBJ called us all kind of N words. He was a Southern good old boy and ended up doing the Voting Rights Act. You have to be in the room and influence the room as best you can, even if it's an uncomfortable room. You have to do it. Understand that's your responsibility to your community. It's easy to show up to a room where everybody in the room agrees with you. It's easy to do that. Doing the other stuff is the hard work, to show up in a room where you know a lot of people disagree with you, but you're going to be in that room anyway, and you're going to advocate for your people anyway. I'm not going to see, and you exactly right, Carl, in terms of like what we've been doing and what, you know, the kind of conversations we try to have. But part of the problem is that we have a lot of people who don't understand nuance and don't understand that conversations have to be had. You know, it's funny, people will say like, well, Yvette, you only hold Democrats accountable. No, that's not true. I go in other rooms and I try to hold a bunch of people accountable, but overwhelmingly we vote for Democrats. People say, well, Yvette, the work on HR 40 was done by another group, and y'all don't understand. Yeah, that's why HR 40 is trash. Antonio and I were reading over it over the weekend, and we were like, this is just this little, it's not even long enough to do what it needs to do, because y'all really weren't doing the work. All these other old groups, y'all talked a whole lot, but y'all weren't doing the work. You didn't update the bill. You didn't put no teeth in the bill. You got something you got something that languished in Congress that was like, what is it, 14 pages long? Everything that has been done is garbage. And you have to be willing to move and maneuver wherever you gotta go. You gotta be able to move and maneuver with friendly people. You gotta, and friendly schools of fish, you gotta move with the sharks. You gotta do it. It's just your responsibility. I don't know how it is, how we think about politics and how we don't understand politics. And can y'all do something else, Colin? I'm gonna let you finish. Can y'all stop it with these gotcha moments with me? I everything that I've ever, all the stuff that I do politically and whatever, I have always announced that there is no gotcha moment if I told you first. But go on, Carl. Let me let you finish.
No, I mean, you're 100% right. And it just seems like with the Democrats, it's just been all propaganda. And just like I see the idiot that, basically accuse you of being pro-Trump. But at the same time, he says, I don't have time to listen to 2 hours of Yvette Cornell.
Yeah,
you want to give a critique about her?
Yeah.
You want to give a critique about ADOS, and you didn't even take the time to listen to a 2-hour video, but you want me to sit and listen to a 1-hour video of you rant and rave about how wrong ADOS is? And another thing, it's called politics. You understand what I'm saying? And just like when you guys, when Omarosa was basically in the White House, nobody thought Omarosa was going to do some groundbreaking things for ADOS, but we still gave her the opportunity to come to us, let us present what we wanted, and to bring it to Trump. If Trump and you guys was advocating that early, so to say that you guys weren't holding the Republicans accountable. But once we seen the going on to the White House, once we seen Omarosa get kicked out, we said, okay, it's nothing there. And like you said, politics is negotiating with people who don't agree with you. Yeah. Now, with Donald Trump, and if we could have got in a room, Donald Trump, I believe, it was so egotistical that we could have basically pushed him to do some things for ADOS, and just to spite the Democrats. You know what I'm saying? That's politics.
Possible.
We got to negotiate with our friends.
It's possible. I don't know if it's probable, but yeah, you're right. It's possible.
It's possible. It was, but we missed our shot. So we know what we got. But right now, we're pushing a party that says they're for us, and we're just basically trying to see what they got for us. We know we got nothing with the Republicans, and we're just basically going to the Democrats. This is what we got, because for 8 years of Obama, you guys said we didn't have an agenda. Now we got an agenda.
And this is who we vote for. Like overwhelmingly, ADOS. When we talk about the black vote is overwhelmingly Democrat. So if we are a significant force in keeping these people in power, then how are you telling me that I can't hold them accountable? It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. So I'm gonna let you get the last word, caller, before I go to the next call.
Okay, no, I mean, I'm done. I mean, again, it's about logic, and the logical thing is for us to advocate for our own self-interest, not the interest of the Democratic Party.
That's a great point to end on, fam. I appreciate you. Listen, I have been accused. It's very comical, and I just want to go through it a little bit because I want to make sure that I air this out. Because I believe in terms of your political work that you should be transparent. I want to make sure I air this out. Last week, some knucklehead put up a video. People kept sending me, Yvette Carnell is a proxy of the LGBT community. She's a proxy. This week, I'm a proxy of a right-wing organization because I'm on the board of Progressives for Immigration Reform. Because, well, the person who started it and the people who give money, these are conservatives. Listen, you always understand something. First of all, I'm one of 3 black people on the board. There are environmentalists on the board who talk about how immigration levels being too high is bad on the environment, and and the aisles. There are people on the board who talk about how that LA has way too much traffic. Like it has 25% more traffic than it should have because of immigration. That's the board. That's what we talk about. And I think someone has to be on these kinds of boards because somebody has to say, hey, are we going to look into let's say, for example, are we going to look into maybe if a person, if an ADOS graduates from Howard or Morehouse Medical School, are they competing with foreign people who graduated from foreign medical schools? Are those people getting more in terms of getting entry to schools that ADOS people from historically black college are not getting these medical schools? Okay. If so, is that a devaluation of our citizenship? These are questions that and only an ADOS person can bring those questions up and say, you need to study for this, or you need to advocate for this, or this is how we need to move on this issue. If you are not on that board because you're scared that conservatives are around, or conservatives are involved, or it might get some money for conservatives, then you're going to have a problem. Because all the money now is white money. We talked about that. And people with white money tend to get very conservative about their money because they don't want to share their money. So you have to be willing to put yourself in all kinds of situations. Understand that medical school in Trinidad is free. So wait a minute, are you telling me that a graduate of Howard University School of Medicine, a graduate of Morehouse School of Medicine, has to compete against somebody who comes from a country where they provide free education for medical school, and they come here debt-free, and my people are burdened with the debt of medical school and the debt of being ADOS in this country? We have to do something about that as a group, and that is the position from which I advocate on immigration. Wherever I go, whatever room I walk in, that's how I walk. You are not going to make me feel bad about advocating for the people who built this country and advocating for the people who built this country, descendants of American descendants of chattel slaves, and advocating for them to have a higher position as a group. That's who we are, to have a higher position on the totem pole than other groups. And I will do that anywhere, anytime, in any space. You are not going to bully me into you can have a conversation, but you can only have it with Democrats. I am not going to be bullied into only having these kinds of conversations with liberals and Democrats. Because you all won't even really give me a hearing half the time because you're like, well, you just open borders. We open borders. We don't want to hear about that. Racist, xenophobe. Well, hold on. You just xenophobe. Do you not like, what are you talking about? So you move how you have to move at any given time, any given day, any given situation. And again, no apologies. So I just want to make that clear and address that since I didn't feel like I had. I'm going to 609. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Miss Yvette.
Yes.
Hi, this is Mike from Jersey.
What's going on?
I'm so glad that you are having this conversation about this Mueller report. On the screen, you had showed Glenn Greenwald. I've been following him on Twitter for at least 5 years, as well as a couple of other people, mainly a dude named Aaron Matek. They have been on top of this hoax from day one. Mm-hmm. All of this has been lies just to stop dissenting voices. I followed a sister on Twitter by the name of Charlie Peach.
Mm-hmm.
They took her off of Twitter for calling her a Russian bot.
They did.
All she was a dim exeter.
Yeah,
She wasn't like Candace Owens trying to push people to the Republicans. She was just saying we need to get off of the Democratic
she was saying they all messed up. She wasn't one of them Candace Owens people. She was just saying this is all jacked up, and they ran her off of Twitter.
Exactly. But also what they did was on Facebook, they took down tons and tons of dissenting pages, all progressive pages. A couple of years ago, well, actually a couple of months ago, they took down at least 15 police brutality pages, pages that were just one called Cop Watch or Cop Block. And what they would do is they would watch.
I remember that page. That page is gone. I don't even do Facebook as much as I used to.
Gone. Called them Russian bots.
Oh.
A couple of weeks ago, they took down pages that were pro Maduro in Venezuela. It's just been a plot. They used that fake Russian hoax and the fake news hoax to kill dissenting voices. That's all this was from the beginning. All it was. I've been watching it from day one. I'm glad that you covered this because you spoke about it a little bit a couple of months ago, but it sounded like you were still unsure about what was going on or if it was Russian or not because you didn't want to sound like you were pro-Russian.
Well, because you know why I can't speak on a lot of stuff because everybody likes to come out and be like Yvette's pro-Trump, even though I've talked about how Trump budget guts Black America. I don't know. I warned everybody like these refunds are going to be lower, and that's a lot of what we kind of depend on in April. I did that, but like it's I said, you know what, I'm not even going to deal with it as much as I wanted to deal with it. Because the thing is, it was so easy to get kicked off. Like just wait till this Mueller report comes out, and then you have something to stand on. But yeah, you can't really, it's censorship, basically. You can't really have a conversation. You can't really talk.
Exactly. It was the same thing with Bernie Sanders because they were saying that Bernie Sanders was backed by the Russians. So he had to back off. I want to see him turn around and finally say that there was never no collusion and in the Russian bot thing. That's so stupid. I'm 37 years old. I've been on the internet since AOL 3.0.
Yeah.
The Russian bots on the internet since 25 plus years. You can go on a Black Planet, MySpace pages. They were making pages back then. Yeah. This was so stupid from the beginning.
They've been doing this for a while, and they just picked up on it and they exaggerated. But they picked up on it, and they've been doing this from the beginning. Like, understanding, we didn't want to have any Russian bot conversation. Like you made me have this conversation because you called me a bot, so I had to have this conversation. Like, didn't nobody want to. I was happy talking about ADOS politics and the bills and the legislation and how we need to move as a self-interested group and how we need to move in such a way that that we have to move as a group because we're not powerful as individuals. We like twigs, but you put us together, we like a million sticks you can't break. So that's how we have to move. But you went on and I wake up one morning to all these tweets and stuff talking about, did you watch AM Joy? She called us bots. I didn't want to be here talking about this.
Well, but you got to understand, all of this is happening because cable is getting so expensive. People are cutting cable. So a lot of people, they get their news from YouTube. Mm-hmm. I've watched like 4 or 5 YouTube channels and pages, well, more than that. But it's crazy. You'd be surprised how many people watch it. You got 62,000 followers, but I watch at least 4 or 5 pages that have over 50,000 followers that all follow you. So I'm talking from Jason Black to Star and Buck Wild. They all follow you. They have your back. So what happens is, for example, you got someone like Joy Reid. She gets 1 million viewers in a span of 6 months. Only 6 months it takes her to get 1 million viewers. So that means y'all got more people following y'all than they got. She has viewers. So they don't have any power anymore. The power's online. Yeah. And they have to cut it. That's why you keep asking, just to they should bring you on the show. No, the reason they're doing this is because you're a dissenting voice, so they're trying to cut your legs out. So they're never going to ask you to bring on the show. That's why they call you a Russian bot.
But here's the thing, That's why they did this. Doesn't that kind of explain this whole Russia thing? Because it made good money. Because if you have a dying network, you create some kind of you story about the president's about to be impeached. It's coming soon. It's coming next week. And that's what you do because you are losing viewership, right? And it's not just it's not just what you said. Like you're right in terms of what you said. He's right in terms of what he said because it's not just about who's watching me or who's watching Tone. No, it's about who's not watching Joy Reid. Like those numbers don't look good, and so it's about who's not watching you. And it's like what I said last week, fam. I said you can put anybody on the TV. I do it all the time. I open up my phone, I hit that little thing, and whatever's on my phone shows up on my TV. You don't have to be at a network or whatever to be on TV anymore. We can all be on TV. So there is no exclusivity anymore. You have to be good at what you do. You have to bring information. You have to advocate. You have to do it. And what we're finding with a lot of these people is that you don't have it. You never should have been in that space anyway. You're not even a good investigative reporter.
Right. Well, I mean, I never liked Joanne Reid anyway because I used to watch Melissa Harris Perry, and her politics were, they weren't that, radical. She was pretty vanilla, but I mean, at least I thought she had some sort of integrity. But you can't be a so-called sister and agree to take Melissa Harris Perry's spot. Like, why would you even take her spot? That shows a lack of integrity right there and there. That's why I said, no, I can't trust you. And then all of a sudden she starts doing what she's doing now. That's the reason she's there. Yeah. It's the same reason. I mean, I haven't watched, I don't like Trevor Noah. I don't find him funny at all. So I haven't watched the Daily Show since Jon Stewart left. But that's the reason Trevor Noah. Why? I mean, I'm glad that he's on our side on this, but why do we have someone from South Africa coming to the United States talking about American politics? Like, that's a problem.
I said that a long time ago. I said that a long time ago. I agree with the comment that he made in terms of being an ally. And I think what's happening with people like Trevor Noah too, they're like, I have to. And I think everybody needs to understand, you're going to have to get on board. It's not a case anymore. But I said that too, like, you have all these people in these space, and if they're not in the space in terms of talent, you're in the space in terms of you are the person who decides who gets to sit in front of these people, right? So like, when we were talking about hardball or whatever, the one of the people or the person who sets up, who decides who's going to be a guest on hardball is a Nigerian. I don't know if she's going to appreciate what I'm saying, right? So you have this thing set up with what happened with Antonio with City Lab. There was this awful article about Kenyans and African Americans or whatever, like ADOS. We're not African American, but like. There was this awful article. He wanted to rebut it, but the person there was a black immigrant who was like, "Nah, we're not going to put this out." But you put this garbage out that was written by this Kenyan about this weird stuff. It was bad writing. It was bad everything. But you wouldn't put Antonio's piece out. That's kind of what we're dealing with. That's kind of what we're dealing with.
The main reason. I'm sorry.
And all of these people, like from even Melissa Harris Perry, but I agree with you, when Melissa Harris Perry walked out with her staff and everything, Joy Reid didn't go with her. But all of these people, were careerists, and they kind of got set up. They kind of got set up by Obama. Like, they were there to be like Negro whisperers, interpreters of ADOS, which was ridiculous in his face. But that's how they got set up, to be in that space. And it was just wild how they were there and why they were there and how quickly they got purged. And like I said, the white woman who's there now on MSNBC during the daytime, if you turn on, she's like a former Bush. I don't know whether she was a spokesperson, a speechwriter, or whatever. Like, they're just kind of pattern matching with whoever's in power. And like, the craziest thing with Melissa Harris Perry, I don't even think she thought she was finna leave. I knew she was gonna leave. I knew she was gone. I knew they all was gone, but I don't think they knew they was gone when Obama was gone. I knew you was gone. I knew the door was gonna hit you with a good Lord split you.
I've been following you since before the show, and I remember you writing an article about this back in 2010.
So long ago. I've said so much about this so long ago. Like, I said so much about this so long ago. It's finally it's like, I used to, I told everybody, like, the first time I voted for Obama, like the first time I was like, well, let's see, McCain and all this stuff, but then I realized on Inauguration Day that he was trash. And like, what do you do when you realize somebody's trash? Well, for me, you just got to start talking about it. And you gotta say, hey, we did this. but we got to renegotiate the second term because this is going to be awful. And what happened was it was just an onslaught. It was an attack of like, Yvette, who do you think you are? Blah 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 blah. You know, when I think it was like 2010 or 11 when I said Obama he's not one of us. Everybody was like, who? Well, who are you? Yellow dog. I mean, it was just wild. And I think now we finally caught up to like, no, like we can. Obama has a record and we see it, and we see what it is, and this our politics is problematic. So I'm gonna let you have the last word, fam.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick. The main reason people are coming at you because of organization. They were not following you online because they thought they were more important. So when Kamala Harris announced, they didn't know we were already organized beforehand for the onslaught. So they don't understand that we were organized. So they had to they must be Russian bots. They must be Russian bots. And also real quick about the attacks that you've been getting over the weekend. If every single immigrant group is able to come over here and step over us, how is it right wing for black people to be against immigration? That's progressive.
Well, let me.
That's progressive.
No, but let me. I appreciate that, fam. But let me just say this: it's not even about how we're supposed to feel. The key to me is that we need to be able to reach our own specific conclusion on how we feel about immigration that is not led by the DNC or any other by white party officials. We have to have a very specific view on immigration that is tied to our specific positionality in this country. So if we have to compete more against immigrants, whether they be legal in terms of H-1B or whether they be, illegal in terms of people who came in this country illegally, we have to decide ourselves. We don't need no help, Beto O'Rourke. We don't need no help, Nancy Pelosi. We have to decide based on our own situation how we are going to deal with immigration, and it has to be a self-interested decision that we make. You don't get to tell us, well, this is the Democratic position and this should be your position. I think and thank you, fam, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna go to the next call. But I think what bothers people so much is that like they have never seen this freedom amongst ADOS people. Like we have always just kind of, well, this is that's right, and we gotta just stand with them. I don't have to do anything. At this moment, I don't know how long, but at this moment, I'm a free Negro, and I don't have to, and I walk into spaces free. I don't walk into spaces on the ball. I walk into spaces free, and I don't have to do anything. I'm going to do my best to think of which immigration position and which immigration levels are best in terms of ADOS people, and that's what I should be doing. I shouldn't be taking any cues. I don't need to take any cues. Nancy Pelosi ain't my mama. She ain't my grandmama. I don't need to take any cues from her. Trinidad kind of, when I talked about them not paying for school, they build that when you do that, when the people go to medical school and who are citizens there, that's the advantage you're supposed to get as citizens. And they build in an advantage for their people. Like, where's my built-in advantage? When you make school free, that builds in. See, by giving them free school, you already built in a division against ADOS and you, because you come here debt free and you're able to maneuver. I come here from a disadvantaged group and then became a doctor, so I got 6 figures of student loans on my back. This is a problem, and like you don't get to bully me in to not acknowledging that there's a built-in disadvantage with me competing with that person. They get advantage of coming here and becoming a doctor. Remember the story I told about how there are more Ethiopian doctors than like ADOS doctors, I think, in like, what was it, Chicago or something like that? I brought this up one day. But like, this is a problem, and I'm not going to not talk about how it's a problem and how we need to get a disadvantage based off who we are as citizens, but also citizens who built with free labor the richest country in the world. I'm not going to stop talking about that and dealing with that in terms of immigration because you have a problem with it. That's just not what I do. That's just, who are you? So I'm going to 501. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, good evening, Yvette. This is Rosa, Nurse Mommy 4 in the chat, calling from Arkansas.
Oh.
I just want to thank you, Darity and Tone Talk so much for this platform, for pushing us forward for the ADOS movement, And I just want to say a couple things. That this Joy Reid is she's nothing to me. She's just a new form of like McCarthyism. She's making this Russian bot issue. It's making her look like Alex Jones and that Pizzagate issue. It's all based on fear mongering and hysteria, and they just want to suppress those of us who are about self-interest. And as you said, any of us who are dissenting now from the status quo. And it's really just another distraction from the ADOS and reparations conversation. And as you said again, it's an evolving form of voter suppression.
Yeah.
One quick thing I want to tell you is that I got a chance to speak with Senator Stephanie Flowers here in Arkansas.
Okay.
She's the one who is very passionate about that stand your ground issue here in Arkansas. She said that she is definitely on board with ADOS. And I've been going around talking to different people here that I get in contact with. And again, it was Stephanie Flowers. I'm in contact with our different neighborhood groups. I'm getting the word out. I'm even talking about it at my children's schools.
You go ahead.
Parent-teacher conference meeting. So I just want to let you know that I'll also be there at the first inaugural meeting that we're going to be having. I'm going to make sure
I'm
to be
looking forward
there.
to seeing you.
Yes. So again, this is a good conversation, and I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your night. And I'm just going to sit back and listen to the rest of the conversation while I'm sitting here at work. Have a good night.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you, fam. Yeah, like that's what we have to do though. See, what one of the things we've been walking around making a lot of people feel comfortable, or letting a lot of people feel comfortable about us. And I'm not talking about it in no physical intimidation way. People are crazy, so I have to say that. But I'm talking about just like we don't even press for our issues. Like we just be like, well, yeah, so yeah, it's hard for everybody. No, you don't get to be around me living life like that our ancestors built and everything we've been through, and me just be like, oh yeah, no, I'm making politics uncomfortable. I'm making everything uncomfortable. You're not gonna. This is not gonna work. This whole thing when we all run around acting like Bill Cosby and laughing and smiling when the Cosby Show, no, that's not gonna work. We're doing it differently this time. That is not gonna work. I'm going to 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Lillian Madison from Louisiana. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing fine. Now, I'm an elder. I was with the Panthers. Hated that Fred Hampton and Mark Clark got murdered in Chicago. I've always been down for reparations. We tried reparations back in the 70s, where we felt like we should go after the corporation for reparations first.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. You can finish. Will you finish?
Oh, that's okay. No, I wasn't finished.
Okay, go ahead.
I have called Senators Clyburn and John Lewis's office, and also Sheila Jackson Lee. I told them that I was against H.R. 40 because it goes from 1619 to 1965. According to the 14th Amendment, you're supposed to include everyone. That's all of our children, not just a selected group within the civil rights movement. I felt this was wrong. I feel like we need to go after the corporation to get reparations first. And I'm finished.
All right, fam. Thank you for calling in. I think what has to happen, right? When you look at like and it's no surprise to me that yes, we have to get on board with that's the only reparations bill, but it has to be rewritten and it has to be redone. And what has to happen though is that in order for that to happen, it's looking like Congress and your Congress people and your leaders, they have to get on board with ADOS. And ADOS leads to the reparations legislation that we need. Because I don't see a way to overhaul HR 40 without us as ADOS having our day of wrecking and being a wrecking ball politically. I don't see it without that. And you know, it's funny because you think about it. You think about it, and I would have thought too that it would have been a much more involved bill because Ta-Nehisi Coates put it in this thing. We just got to pass HR 40, and you got all these groups and Cobra, everybody. Well, we put HR 40, and you go read HR 40, and you're like, well, hell, this is the problem. Like, it's nothing here. There's no here. So you understand. One of the things that I do as like a political person, a political scientist, is I look at stuff and I see the holes. And one of the holes could be we get everybody to support HR 40, and HR 40 doesn't have the teeth that HR 40 needs to be. So we spend all that time getting people HR 40, like we have talked about here. And we're in favor of studying reparations with some allotments of money, but this isn't good enough. So we have to become a group that is enough to push people to rewrite this bill in a way that is, first of all, how long ago? Jesus, is that part of the problem? Like, how did you get nobody to update this? Like, everybody wants to go around and brag about we got HR 40. Did you not get anybody to like update this and add in like allotments? And how did you, how I don't know. But there's a lot that has to happen, and we got to keep evolving this conversation, but you have to be with us. You know, the movement was not about these people over here. The movement is ADOS. Like, that's who we are, and that's what we've done. And we have to keep growing and building to get enough energy to push what we need to happen in Congress. I'm going to 248. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Dwayne, I'm calling from the Midwest. How's it going, Yvette?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Listen, I'm calling because I have to say that ADOS, those 4 letters in that word, reparations, since this has been going on with the Russian bots and all this stuff, I agree it has been smoke and mirrors. But one thing I can kind of say, I'm glad about the movement. I kind of got mixed feelings, but in a good way. I'm glad about the movement. But also, it's kind of disheartening to see when, like the lady who said she mentioned to the guy about the NAACP about reparation, he kind of ignored her. Mm-hmm. And it's good to me, but it also kind of disheartening at the same time to see so many politicians who you thought was on our side and thought had our back just crumble. I mean, to say ADOS and reparation, it's like kryptonite. Yeah. I mean, you can just see, like, when Bernie Sanders, you can just see them just like fold. It's just like, it's almost like, you know, like the Wicked Witch of the West melting. It's just like going away, and it's like, oh my God, like you get to look and say, like, who is for us? And then it brings me to my next question. Our leaders, whoever leads the person that's the person or group that's not afraid to handle reparation in a meaningful way, no matter who it be, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, that's the person or group, whoever, should get our attention. But it has to have some teeth. I agree with HR 40 doesn't have teeth. And it's just disheartening to let me know that we have a lot of work to do. That's all I have to say.
Appreciate it, Carla. And there's another part to it. The other part to it is it's not written right. I mean, like, it's not even enough pages. Like, we're talking, like, this is, I think it's less than like 20 pages or something. We're talking about we're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar bill. First of all, we're just gonna study it. Okay, how do you, like, this HR 40 is less pages than like the studies on, like, this. It's less pages than the studies that we've done on racial income inequality. It's less pages than everything. Like, understand that. You have to understand, like, this was done wrong. And I've been trying to say that forever, but this was done wrong. And I'm not trying to listen. It just is what it is. Some things just are what they are. In terms of what the caller said about, the people not necessarily and standing with us, the leaders she thought were his leaders or whatever, not saying, like, I would say, listen, this is a point of clarity. This is a good thing. There's no reason to be disheartened by this. You need to know. Now you understand why we never got anything. Now you understand why we never got reparations. There was never a push. Now you understand why we're still at the bottom. Right? Once you see how people react, we've gotten attacked. I don't know if Trump got attacked more than we have. When you see that, you begin to understand why we're here and how we got here. And that is, before you go into battle, one thing you need is clarity. You need the clarity. You don't need to go into battle in a fog. You go into battle in the fog, you're gonna have a hard day. You might run into something you don't want to run into out there. You need clarity. You need to be able to see. You need night vision. Whatever you got, you need to be able to see. And so I think one of the things that this moment has given us, in terms of, like, people don't know we're a force yet. People don't know that. So they are kind of dismissing us, and they're showing us their true colors. That is essential. That's wonderful. We need to see that. We need to see it and take note of it and not forget it, because they are giving us the clarity that we need to understand who is operating for us in our benefit and who is operating against us. That is essential. So please do not be discouraged by any of that. Please do not be discouraged by any of the attacks or whatever. I am not discouraged at all. I am taking notes and keeping names and keeping a lovely, lovely list of who is there and who is not there. And we're going to see. Blue checks, we see y'all. I'm going to 310. 310, what's going on?
Well, I just wanted to speak real quick and just give my 2 cents on, this is Antonio Phone Talks, on HR 40, on immigration, and just overall with the Mueller thing. You know, I did a short video, 10 minutes. You can check that out on my YouTube. You know, American Decision Slavery was something that, if you go all the way back into videos, using it like 2 years ago, really took off at the top of the year, but it connected to multiple years of shows. Everybody that's been here for a while knows that. Yeah. You know, you got Yvette, primetime hours, seeing 3,000 people live, which is insanely high numbers, given that we're not just talking about like comedy and popular culture, like topics. This is politics. You know, and then you got myself. I see about 2,000, 2,200 people live, and then I have another million actually on Dash Radio listening as well. And I think one of the things that everybody has to understand is, I'm not going for what's going down right now, which is, I feel what's happening is, you know, the Cobra people came in and now they're trying to say HR 40, because I don't know if you guys realize, if you read the bill, it's kind of weird who gets to sit in the seats. They give far too much power, I believe, to the president. They concede far too many seats, but I'm not here for the NAACP and the Urban League and Cobra to feel like they're going to get seats that ADOS needs to occupy. Myself, Yvette, Sandy Darity, I would like to see Kevin Cosby in the room as a pastor and head of HBCU, but we made this discussion happen, period. And I tell anybody to their face, shout out to the brother that told Clyburn. I wanted to tell y'all, you know, I think it is important to engage these Congress people. I just want to make sure that we engage them with decency and dignity, and be informed as we engage them. This isn't just about a check. Make sure you tell them, if you don't know what you're talking about, go to ADOS 101, and then our agenda is on that page. You know, because what they try to do is dismiss you, as we saw with the brother. For those people that saw the video with Clyburn, and I want to make sure that you don't get dismissed on the basis of your presentation, and even though you might not have meant it that well, because he said cut the check, and everybody said, well, if he would have said it different, it didn't matter how he said it to Clyburn. Clyburn was ill-prepared to deal with a black agenda. And that's what the whole thing is going down right now, is that we're demanding a black agenda centered around being ADOS. Largely what has happened is two groups have dominated black gatekeeper success, that is biracials and immigrants. And when I say biracials, I'm even considering Africans as well. So what you end up with is that 90% of the group is shut out from having a voice, because you got this 10% group. You know, I did my video on Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is a guy who was raised by his white mother, just like Obama. This is not accident. Jordan Peele and Barack Obama just happen to both have white mamas? No, it's because corporations and the people who make selections at corporations prefer this person over a black man that has full ADOS background. That's going to bring complaint and issue to the table. And I say this to you to say, when I look at HR 40, and I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, when I look at HR 40, one of the things that I read as it jumps off, because it's like 14 pages double spaced, and the indentions are like 2 inches, so it's not a lot of text there. It's an indictment on boomers. I'm sorry. To me, it's an indictment of boomers and older Gen Xers. Because what you see is that, I don't know what kind of politics everybody's been doing, but it's not good enough. And when I look at this thing, You know, I did a report with Sandy Darity out of Duke. I'm not a professor or a PhD. And I believe it's one of the seminal reports in terms of wealth and race for, you know, in the last several years, maybe even the last decade, because it really laid out the mythology around everything. What have these people been doing that want to now say that they started reparations discussions and they were in the beginning? I don't think that we should push HR 40. Let me say that. I said it on my show, and I think right now we need to push ADOS because that is the first step. If we don't get lineage, and I've always believed this, I didn't vote for Barack Obama either term. I voted down ticket. I didn't vote for the Republican. I voted down ticket because I knew who Obama was before everybody else. I'm told that's Yvette. And so, like, now what's interesting is everybody else is catching up. And what he is an amalgamation of being a biracial and an African. which is wild when you really think of it. And so, you know, I look at this thing and I think American Defense of Slavery scares everybody because it lets everybody know that we changing the chairs in the room. And we gonna put that ghetto black mother that's living in Lake Providence, Louisiana, in the most unequal place in America. She go in the front, and Joy Reid, you go in the back. See, because like what happens? Let's just have it out. Let's have the discussion. Everybody be clear. This is not about fairness no more. What reparations does is it makes it so white America at large, has to make ADOS have a similar position in this country to white folks. But it's not going to do that for immigrants. It's just, and why should it? Now, I believe we should have a black agenda for all black people in a more general sense. But reparations does a specific task for American descendants of slavery that built America. Somebody says that's divisive. Y'all don't understand politics and y'all don't travel enough. You know, the Trinidadian example is a classic one. You go to in Trinidad right now, we can't get no medical degree. Every boundary is set up for us not to go there and get a degree for free. But a Trinidadian can. And because we didn't have politics that actually did the same thing to them here, you can bring that degree here and compete against me while I have a $200,000 degree from Howard or UCLA or whatever else as a black person that didn't have inheritance. But hold up. We get to the hospital, and you're a lot more amicable than me because you're not going to join the union because you don't have no debt. So, like, now I'm competing against you because they need a black person in the ER room. They need a black person in management, but you a lot more docile because you good. You my competition, and I didn't even realize I set you up to win. Ooh. This is the problem with not understanding politics and not understanding that if you're going to build this country, either everybody's in or those people who don't have no dust on their hand got to go. And I think when we look at Lupita, when we look at the Trinidadian doctor I'm talking about, when we look at everybody like Joy Reid, they ain't got no dust on their hand. They got to go. Y'all can sit on the fence and think that we talking about ADOS being divisive. But we've been all encompassing, hugging everybody for a long, long time. Everything about their lives is divisive. When you look at the Nigerians that can do import-export and then be able to use that money to compete against you in the U.S. market for a home or anything else for schooling, that is divisive. What do you have in your life that's divisive against them? You don't even use your citizenship right. Look, ADOS doesn't support Donald Trump. ADOS doesn't support Republicans. But ADOS gonna pick that check from the Democrats. I'll leave it at that.
All right, Tony, I appreciate it. One of the things that what I think is that, like, ADOS have to rewrite HR 40. You know, it's fine with being bored, like we said on a reparations bill, but I think there has to be an additional question. Are you not just signing on with HR 40? Are you on board with, like, it has to be rewritten, it has to be redone? Like, when we first started pushing for this, I never knew it was such trash. Like, how did y'all, like, write this double-spaced trash? Like, it's not even a bill to study. Like, how did you do this? Like, it's such an abdication of responsibility. I don't even understand how Ta-Nehisi Coates did this. Like, how did you read this bill when you wrote it? Like, Congress should support. Did we read this? Because when we start looking at it, it's like, this isn't nearly good enough. So I think we have to make our HR 40 the bill that we need it to be as ADOS. Right? And part of, like, just getting somebody to support the bill, I know we've said that, has to be like, do you support, the rewritten bill? like our ADOS's right to rewrite this bill and attach a financial allotment to it. Not just a bill that you wrote, which is kind of trash, but like it doesn't have a financial allotment either. And then there's so many problems. Sheila Jackson Lee can't support it. She can't be the one who sponsors it. Sheila, don't nobody like you, girl. Your staff don't like you. The people around you don't like you. Congress don't like you. From what I hear, Texas don't like you, child. I can't, like, everybody, and that goes to show, like, the fact that she's the one who put this bill goes to show that, like, they didn't intend on doing anything with it. They're just going to just give it to Sheila, child. Don't nobody like Sheila. We ain't going to go nowhere. I ain't doing it because I don't want to put my name on nothing. It's going to show you that, like, it's the whole thing. The CBC is trash. That's basically what it shows you. Y'all are all trash. Throw them away, too. While we're dealing with HR 40 and what has to happen, and, like, HR 40 really is a good way to kind of put people on board and say, why haven't you ever, considering like what little it does, like who has an excuse for never having supported HR 40? It don't do nothing. Like it doesn't, not nearly enough. Like what excuse do you have? So I still think it you know, you can still put that out there, like why haven't you supported it? But then we have to build HR 40 into something. Like it gets reintroduced every session. We have to build it into something that is beneficial. We have to build it up to that. But like, it just goes to show you that nobody, it's not because HR 40 was divisive. It don't do enough to be divisive. It goes to show you that like people didn't sign on because they don't want us to get our due. And they don't want to be a part of any reparations legislation, no matter how defamed. And I think you can still use that, though, when you have to use, like, why haven't you done X, Y, and Z? You still get to use that. It's like, why haven't you signed on? Like, what have you been doing? But I think we also have to know that we have to totally rewrite HR 40, and we have to get dollars attached to it. And that's real work. I'm going to 678. 678, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Jacob calling in from Detroit. I want to make a couple points.
Sure.
First thing, you guys were talking about the Mueller report early on, and really, you guys touched on it already. Essentially what it is, the Democratic platform to get Trump out of office was they felt they would ride the "We Hate Trump" wave into office. They didn't really have an agenda. They didn't have a plan. They thought there was enough hate that they could corral to try to get themselves back into power. And they're finding out that's just not the way. So, I mean, that's my first point.
Okay.
Second point is, I mentioned before, I've called it before, I'm part of a political fellowship, and my plan is to get myself to prepare for run for office. And one of the things that two events happened recently that I want to talk to you guys about. One was we got to meet with the Arab community here in Michigan. And a lot of people don't know that the largest concentration of Arabs outside of the Middle East is here in Dearborn, Detroit.
I know that.
Dearborn, right
I know that.
Detroit.
I lived in Michigan for a little while, so I know that.
Okay, very good. So we met with them, and what was interesting about this gentleman, he's an immigrant, he's been here. We were talking about how have the immigrants moved here from the Middle East, moved to Dearborn, and been so successful. And he made 3 points, and it talks a lot about what we've been talking about. One, he said they stick together. And that's what you guys are trying to do with the ADOS community. We need to come together around a specific agenda and stick together, and that's how they've been successful. But the two last points speak to something that you guys have been talking about. He said, one, we understand the importance of local elections, and we funnel our money and do those things. And the last thing he said, which was so vital, he says, we vote for someone who's going to protect and promote our interests. And I heard him say that, and what I hear from ADOS is we have interests, we have an agenda, we want people to support it, we're coming forward with it. No one had a problem in the room. This room was full of Republicans, independents, black, white, Nigerians, whatever. No one had a problem with him making that statement. But everybody has a problem with ADOS making a statement saying we have an agenda, we have a claim, we have something that we want. Hold
your thought.
No one had a problem when he made that point.
Hold your thought, caller. You said nobody had a problem when he made that point. I don't want you to forget your next point. But understand something. You said there was everybody in that room. Republicans, Democrats, everybody was in that room. Nobody told him that he could only talk to Democrats. Nobody said that to him. He got when we try to talk to everybody, Democrats, Republicans, leftist, socialists, we don't care. When we try to talk to everybody, people are like, oh, you can't talk to Republicans, you can't have a conversation. Nobody's telling him he can't have a conversation.
Absolutely. There was somebody in the room from Senegal. There was somebody from up north rural Michigan, from the west side of the state, third generation cherry farmer. I mean, there were all types in the room across the spectrum. No one had a problem. Matter of fact, they even applauded when he finished. And here we are making a claim for something specific, a justice claim that we understand is supported by data. Everybody's understand it's due, and unless you just really just ignorant, just want to play ignorant, you understand what this is. And everybody's calling it divisive, wrong, bow down. And I think it's into my last point. There seems to be a fight for the heart and soul of the black community right now that's going on, and that's between ADOS and the gatekeepers and everybody kind of in between. The black vote has been such a strong voting block for the Democratic Party. They didn't even have to worry about it for years. They could just come by, take a few pictures, and they knew they would get our support.
Yeah, go to the fish
and that's
fry.
starting to crumble. Exactly, and that's starting to crumble, and they're panicking. They don't know what to do about that. And the answer is simple. Come hear our interests, come hear what we want, and find a way to make that part of the agenda, or make the agenda that we push forward, and you'll get our vote. You'll earn it like you have to go out and earn everybody else. David had to work for it for a while, and now they have to work for it, and they don't know what to do. So that's my last point. You all have a good night, and I'm going to continue listening to the show.
Appreciate it, fam. I think that's going to be my last call for the night. We're at 2-hour mark. Listen, the call is right. Listen, what you're seeing, even from, the gatekeepers have a specific reason to come at us, right? And so that's why they're coming at us, because of who they are and who butters their biscuits. But for everyone else, what you're seeing is the result of being a bottom cast. I always talk about that, and people kind of push back. No, we're not. Yes, we are. Because, you're telling us, who are you people to be coming up here talking about an agenda? You don't get an agenda. You don't get none of that. You don't get to have an agenda. You get to just fall in line. You don't get to think for yourself. Who does that? Not you people. You get to just fall in line. And I think one of the problems that they have with us, and you see that with a lot of the criticism, is that the problem that's happening is that they are not prepared to deal with the group of ADOS people who are self-led in terms of collectively we make our own decisions about our own priorities, and we call you to account in terms of doing what you have to do to address our needs as a community. You have to do it. And that's just it. That's just what has to happen. So, fam, if I didn't get to your call this time, hopefully I will get you next time. Please hit the like button before you leave. I appreciate all of you who have been online, and we've been doing the advocacy, and we've been holding people accountable. I appreciate that, and we're going to keep doing that. If you want to donate, as always, go to donatebrown.com, patreon.com/ycarnell. And please go to subscribe to brown.com as well to add your name to that list. Hit the bell so that you can get notifications if you have not hit that bell for me. And fam, we will be back talking about this on Wednesday, whatever. So we'll have another conversation, but mull over this, add your voice to the chat, and I will see you soon.